Hi everyone, this is Tina Zinck, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in Nova Scotia, Canada. I had a super fun celebration workshop this past weekend, and my hostess requested projects that featured designer series paper because it's one of her favorite Stampin' Up! Projects, and she had tons of it, and she wanted ideas on ways to use it, use up her scraps, create cards. So one of the projects that I did for her was a template that shows how to make 12 cards from one piece of 12 by 12 designer series paper. So I'm going to come back and show you these cards that I made from the one sheet of designer series paper. But first, let me show you the template. So this is the template. Kind of hard to get it all on the camera here, but I will have a link so that you can go to my blog and you can actually see this whole template there. So there's a lot of similar templates out there online, but this one I copied from my dear friend and fellow Stampin' Up! Demonstrator Sharon Armstrong, and I just loved the template that she has. So that's what we used. This is the cardboard backing that comes with our 12 by 12 designer series paper packs, and what I've done is I've just drawn the lines across, and these are all the pieces that I would cut from my designer series paper. So for the projects that we did at our workshop, I featured the Daisy Delight designer series paper. This is a different pattern than the one that we used, but the beauty of our paper is that, of course, it's double-sided. So I'm just going to quickly show you how I cut out my paper. So first I'm going to cut out this strip down here, and this is all 5 1/2, and then we're going to come back and cut this, which is all at 3 1/4. All these squares are 3 1/4, and I'll show you the rest of that in just a second. So first, we've cut my strip down to measure 5 1/2, and then I'm going to turn it, and I want to cut the 3 1/4. So now this measures 3 1/4 by 5 1/2, which is this block right here. So of course you could use either side for your card. So I'm going to set that aside. Now I'm going to cut the next piece, which is 3 inches. So now this is 3 inches by 5 1/2. The next one is 2 1/4. So there's my 2 1/4 by 5 1/2 strip. And then this last bit already measures 3 1/2 by 5 1/2. So these pieces are all from that first strip of designer series paper that I cut right here. So now I'm going to move on, and I'm going to cut down at the 3 1/4 mark. So all these measure 3 1/4, and then we've got 3 1/4 by 3 1/4, 3 inches by 3 1/4, 2 1/4 by 3 1/4, and 3 1/4 by 3 1/2. So I'm just going to move right down that line. There's my 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. Oops. 3 1/4 by 3, 3 1/4 by 2 1/4, and then this measures 3 1/2 by 3 1/4. So all these bits and pieces are this middle section down here. So now it's time to do this bit here. So this already measures 3 1/4 across, so I'm going to cut this bit at 3 1/4, and then the second one at 3 inches. There's my 3 1/4, slide it over, there's my 3 inches. So that leaves this section right here. So that is what this piece is going to be cut from. So all I'm going to do is open up my trimmer, and I'm going to line up this corner with this corner right in the groove of that track. And there's my 2 triangles cut. So now, based on this template, I have all these pieces of designer series paper cut. So it's time to put them into cards. So all I did is the pieces that are 5 1/2 inches wide, I just cut and I use coordinating cardstock. So I just pulled colors that are out of the Designer Series paper. So for this section, for instance, I'm going to cut my Daffodil Delight at the 5.5 mark. And then I'm going to cut for this one 3.5 and keep it at the 5.5. So that when I mount it, it'll be like that. And I'm just going to grab a random card base that I have sitting on my desk. So then that would go on to my card base. So this piece is a 3.25 by 3.5, which is this one here. So I would cut my cardstock to measure 3.5 by 3.75. 3.5 by 3.75, and then just mount that right on top so it's matted, and then decorate it. So let me show you my cards. So I used an assortment of supplies and stamps when I put these cards together, and this is that same 3.25 by 5.5, but I just turned it this way, and I embossed a wishing you a happily ever after and added some pretty shimmery ribbon. This card was one of the cards we did as a make and take at the workshop. Everybody loved this. We used our markers directly onto the stamp. This is from the Perennial Birthday Stamp Set. And then we used our blender pen to pull it in and added the Daffodil Delight marker to tie in the yellow. And then from the Picture Perfect Birthday, we stamped the sentiment in the Night of Navy. Same with the Happy Birthday. So that was a lot of fun. I'm just going to whip through these, and I'm going to feature these a little bit more on my blog. So this one was using the Daisy Punch. Let's just push that up because it looks pretty when it's 3D. Little dazzling diamonds in the center. Thanks for everything. This card was fun to make. This is with the Picture Perfect Birthday set. The candles. Some celebration cards with the Party Pandas and our new dies. This one's from the Here For You stamp set. This one's super cinchy. I just used a little bit of our old olive ribbon to tie into the cardstock, and then the same ink as the Designer Series paper, which is Night of Navy. So very minimal supplies needed for some of these cards. A thank you card. A celebration card. And some of these cards I'm going to be demonstrating on some upcoming videos as well. And this one was just a quick card. And this is using up bits and pieces from leftover projects that I had on my desk as well. So that's kind of fun. And I used my Big Shot. And then the last two are my favorite. This one's using the Bird Banter. And when I'm doing my coloring and pulling out my colors, all I'm doing is pulling out the colors that are in the Designer Series paper. So of course everything coordinates. Little clear wink of Stella on top of that. And then my favorite one. Isn't that pretty? So there you go, my friends. 12 cards, all made from one sheet of Designer Series paper. And it's a great way to use up our extra bits and pieces from previous projects that we've made too. So again, you can find the template that I showed earlier. This will be posted on my blog. And I hope you have fun with that. I know that I did, and so did the gals at my celebration workshop. So I couldn't wait to share it with you. So thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Happy stamping!